Imagine you're in a small boat in the middle of the ocean by yourself. The only food you have is the food that you've brought with you. You've been at sea for 45 days, and you expect to be at sea for still another 45 days. You have no engines or sails on the boat at all. The only way of getting to the closest land, which is over 1,000 miles away in every direction, is by rowing. How do you feel? Well, I'm Elsa Hammond, and in 3 months' time, that is where I'll be. I'm going to be rowing out of Monterey Bay in California, across the Pacific Ocean to Hawaii. I'll be at sea for about 3 months, and I'll take everything that I need with me at the beginning, so all my food, all my equipment, packed up at Monterey, and I can't accept anything else onto the boat all the way across to Hawaii. Every day, I'll be rowing. Rowing, rowing. Sometimes up to 16, 18 hours a day, especially if the weather's particularly good and I want to make a good push forward. My boat has a cabin at each end. One big one smaller one. The whole boat's about 24 foot long, about 6 foot wide, and in the middle is the bit that I row in, so that's where I'll spend most of my time. Apart from rowing, I'll be sleeping, eating, making water with my electric water maker, and rowing. So when I tell people what I'm going to do, the biggest question I always get asked is, why? Why would you want to row across an ocean by yourself? Why would you want to spend 3 months at sea in total isolation, not seeing anyone else, in rough weather, great white sharks nearby, pretty disgusting food, water that's been made by a water maker so it's still slightly salty, a bit warm to taste? Why would anyone do that? And actually, I find that question the hardest one to answer, which is what I'm trying to do today. The first thing I want to say to that question is, why not? Why wouldn't I want to go and do that? And normally people have quite a lot of answers to that. I get things from, what if you don't have enough food? What if the boat sinks? Isn't it a bit expensive? Have you heard about that family whose boat was attacked and sunk by a whale? Have you seen the film Life of Pi? What's the point? It's a waste of time. You'll be unemployable when you get back. What a foolhardy thing to do. You'll die. Well, all of these reasons are valid in their own right, but somehow they don't seem to have quite convinced me not to do what I'm going to do, which is something that I want to explore. Why, with all of those reasons, do I still want to go out and row an ocean by myself? I think probably it's something that started when I was younger, when I was a child. I spent a lot of time reading books, reading adventure books, Swallows and Amazons, Pippi Longstocking, things where people went out and sailed in the sea, on lakes, went camping, had adventures. And that's something that probably put a seed in my mind then. I spent a lot of time camping. When I was on my year off from between school and university in 2005, I sailed in a boat with one other person from Samoa to Fiji in the South Pacific Ocean. That took about 6 days. 6 days of seeing pretty much the same thing every day. So we'd keep watch. Slight things would be changed, but the weather was good. We just sailed every day. And those changes that we saw, tiny little changes in something that seemed very similar, are still with me now. So one day there was a squall that came over. Suddenly in the ocean, when a squall is like a small storm and it comes over, you see it in the distance, this black cloud. And within minutes, it's over you and it's pouring with rain. Everything, sort of the winds come up. It's really, really sudden, and then it goes away again a few minutes later. And that was sort of a huge event of the day, but just a few minutes worth. I remember flying fish, leaping up into the boat from the ocean. And I remember in the last day before we reached Fiji, almost before we could see it in the distance, the smells changed. Suddenly you could smell something in the air that wasn't the ocean, that you hadn't been able to smell for the last few days. Smells from land. And they became stronger and stronger as you got closer to land. And the colors started changing. And suddenly, there it is, there's land, and it's appearing and getting bigger. And all these different things are happening after days and days of very subtle changes. And that's something that has stayed with me. And I really want to get back to try to seeing what it's like for a longer time, and for a longer time by myself as well. I think there's also something about the simplicity of being, of having everything you want with you. Camping. A few years ago, I took a backpack, tent, sleeping bag, and spent nearly 5 months just in England, traveling around, going to festivals, seeing friends, going trekking, but just every day I had everything I needed with me. I'd know that I could stop wherever I wanted, take the tent out, put the tent up, put my sleeping bag inside, and there was my little home. And that's something, again, that I really look forward to being in that space and to getting used to being with myself in a space by myself and having everything I need. One of the issues that the naysayers bring up is that it's a dangerous thing. It's a foolish thing to do. But what I'm doing is preparing as much as possible at the moment. There's a lot of technology on board the boat, which is there to keep me safe, there to communicate with other people. So I've got a satellite phone, GPS, the electric water maker, solar panels. And these things help me to tell the story, to share what I'm doing with everyone, even while I'm out there. I'll be blogging, and I'll be phoning back, but also for me, for safety. And I've been doing courses and preparing and thinking about it. I think 3 things stand out for me when I think about that question, why would I choose to do this? And they are journey, action, and simplicity. Going on a journey, instead of just... So if I stayed at home and had all this hardship, all these painful saltwater blisters, hot sun, which is burning me, sharks, rowing every single day, day in, day out, muscles aching, food that's disgusting, water that's warm and salty, that would be a very different thing from going out into the ocean and rowing across it and getting somewhere from California to Hawaii. I expect there are people here who've stood at the top of a mountain and looked down at the valley below and thought, I've got here by myself, by climbing up there. You can feel your muscles aching. You can see everywhere that you came. And that feeling of having got there and got to the top and feeling that you could do anything. And I think the simplicity ties into that. There's something that it's not just rowing an ocean and doing something that is a bigger thing than I've ever done in my life so far. It's tiny little things. A few weeks ago, I went shopping late at night, so just before the shops closed. And I got on my bike, and it was pouring with rain, and cycled through the streets, rain lashing, and it was quite windy as well. And I just felt absolutely exuberant, so happy and so excited. And I was just going shopping. And I got there, and I was really wet and dripping, but really, really buzzing. And it felt so different from sitting at home, ordering online and having my bananas and my milk and whatever arriving at the doorstep. When I first heard about people rowing oceans, it was in 2006, which is quite a long time ago now. And the moment I heard about people doing it, it's something I'd never heard of before, I thought, that's what I want to do. One day, I'm going to do that, but now's not quite the time. I'm not quite ready. And for years, I've had this at the back of my mind, I really like to do that, but not quite yet. A couple of years ago, I sort of upped it a bit and thought, well, I'll start training. I'll start doing secret, long sessions on the rowing machine. And I used to go there for sort of an hour and a half rowing, but I didn't tell anybody that I was doing it. Mainly because I was worried what people would say. I was worried that if I said, I'm going to go and row an ocean, people would say, you'll die. No one's going to employ you. All of these things that they do say sometimes. But the reality is that many, many more people are supportive of it. And also, the reality is that since I've said that I'm going to do it, suddenly it's happening. As soon as I decided to do that and told people that I was going to do it, step by step by step, I've started to get funds, I've started to make plans, I've been getting my qualifications, I've got the boat now, and it's in 3 months' time, I'm going to be out there. And I think there's something about having something in your head and inside you that's burning away. Whatever it is, it may be something very small, it might be something that you've always wanted to do or that you've only started to want to do recently. And for me, I had to finally say, I'm going to give it a go. But I think finding the reason for that is probably the hardest thing. And I think I'm not going to find out why I'm doing it until I'm out there, possibly until after I've been out there. I think the reasons will come then. But I think we all need to sometimes just trust that feeling and just try. Thank you.